Okay, I'm live. Yeah. Thank you. So, hello everyone. I'm Leah Marie, Mind Health Coach, and we are live on YouTube tonight doing a whole program about the different things that I often talk about on the show. So it's so exciting to be here in front of you, in front of the audience tonight, speaking and talking about these things that I often say, oh, I wish I could show you. I wish I could show you, emotional freedom technique, or I wish I could show you how to use this oil correctly, or I wish I could, do a meditation and show you the way I'm in my meditation state. So it's really exciting. This is a new stage of development for Dream Vision 7, and I have to say this line that I forgot to say. So welcome to Dream Vision 7 Radio Network YouTube live channel. And it's a healing and times radio, and I'm Leah Marie, and I'm the Mind Health Coach, and this is the Mind Health Coach program. My normal show is usually on Fridays at 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this is like an exclusive event that we're doing that I think is just so great, as I just mentioned. So I'm going to dive right in. I'm going to give you guys typically what I do when I'm speaking in front of groups of people that talking about my holistic stress management program. And I'm going to do some things like tapping, EFT, emotional freedom technique. I'm going to talk about meditation and its effects on the brain as well as overall being. And I'm in front of my Christmas tree. We got it up right after Thanksgiving. We're a family that likes to get the tree up right away and then get it down, in January. So I thought how appropriate for this particular YouTube experience to be in this beautiful energy, so that's why I chose to sit here. And some of you may not, really like Christmas trees. So I know I'm probably going out across the world, and there's probably different faiths and all of that. But me personally, I enjoy having a Christmas tree to celebrate this holiday season and this time of year. So as I said, I have been doing a lot of programs in front of different people that are mainly in the medical field. And so this is the kind of stuff that we're teaching out there and showing so that they can share with patients and with families that are challenged with different conditions or different stressors in their lives. I mean, it can be applied to anything that stresses you out. And it can also bring in healthier rewiring for the brain. And it can also impact the brain so much that you grow gray brain matter in the areas for learning, language, and compassion. And those are the areas that are most affected by Alzheimer's and other dementias. There's several other classifications of diseases that are causing dementia. And dementia is really all about, confusion and brain fog and declining of the brain. So a lot of us are at risk for different diseases that can impact our lives, and doing these different techniques can naturally help you omit those things from your existence. So why not learn about them? And I also have some aromatherapy that I want to share with you, some unbelievable things that are out there right now by the company. I use a lot of the doTERRA oils. I know it's kind of like a line that is focused on the multi-level sales, but I'm not encouraging, anybody to go in that direction. I think they're such great oils, and they have such great formulas, and the fact that they're totally pesticide free, and the initiatives of the company really align with my beliefs. Like, they're doing a lot of investing in companies that are countries that are third world countries that could really use the economic growth from harvesting these, herbs and plants that they derive the oils from. So I think that's really great. And I also love the fact that they're donating some of the profits to some of the issues out there, such as human trafficking, which is becoming more and more in your view, that, it's a huge issue and it's really horrible. I think there was just a recent story that I read about some folks that were being trafficked, and there were like 20 some teenagers that died and were found murdered. And it's just horrific. So many horrible things with this aspect, and I feel like when a company like doTERRA is being responsible and saying, okay, well, we're making enough money, we're bringing in enough money to fund some of the actions that can counteract this type of behavior and things that are happening in the world that I just can't comprehend. I feel like at least I'm doing something towards healing that effort, by hosting on my website and educating people about a great product that can help them. So it's kind of helping in so many ways. And so that's why I feel in alignment with that company. And you can visit my website, mindhealthcoach.com, and find out more about those oils. But, I'll get more into that after I talk about some of the other things that I wanted to share with you guys. So, as I'm always talking about meditation and its effects on the brain and overall well-being, and the effects on your body are just so astronomical. For instance, if you are somebody that reacts to situations very stressfully, and you get really worked up and your blood pressure goes up, and you just are wired for any challenge that comes in your path, if you have that reaction, you're actually causing your brain to send messages out to your body and cause your body to have more cortisol pumping through it. And I always talk about cortisol because cortisol is wonderful when you're having a low-grade fever and you need to get rid of bacteria out of your body. It's also great when you have that fight or flight reaction, and it saves your life in a situation that could have, if you didn't have that pump of adrenaline happening and, getting you going, that you might not have gotten out of the situation that was kind of risky in the first place. Then, cortisol plays an effective part in those ways. But when we're having chronic cortisol production, which happens from stress, it happens from emotions. Emotions are so powerful. We're just really learning about how powerful they are. There's a lot of studies being done about emotions in the brain and how do we rewire for a more calmer demeanor, and not just on the outside, mostly on the inside. How do you rewire your brain so you're not having that chronic cortisol called into your being and then causing dis-ease? And dis-ease causes disease. And there's so many things that happen from chronic cortisol production. Inflammation in the body, and inflammation is contributed to many different disease processes. Alzheimer's, diabetes, which is, a horrible disease, high blood pressure, heart disease, all of these things. It can activate autoimmune disorders. All of these things can happen from inflammation being increased in the body, and cancer too. So it's really something that we all should be aware of. How much cortisol do we have in our bodies, right? And how much is our brain calling into our bodies at all times? Well, there's some different things that you can do to ensure that you aren't getting unreasonable chronic cortisol production all the time. And, there are things also that you can have in a toolbox that I'm going to show you today that will help you lower that cortisol production instantly. And, they're very simple. They're simple techniques. And they're also, not a prescription. It's totally natural. And not that I tell anyone to put away their prescriptions and not take their prescriptions, always check with your doctor. This is more complimentary. And, I'll tell my story on YouTube. Basically, when I was in my early 30s, I had a terrible accident. I actually had a horse rear up and that I was training. I wasn't just walking by a horse and the horse rearing up. A horse that I was on her back training, and she reared up and she fell over backwards on top of me. And it was my error. I did a technical error. I pulled too hard on the reins and she went over backwards on top of me. And the impact of her, which was like 1,000 pounds on me, stopped my heart. And so my dad actually resuscitated me. And so I always say my dad gave me life twice. So it was really a great, great thing that he did for me. But, this particular event in my life, I speak about it a lot because it was so impactful to me. It was incredible the impact that that one instant had on my life in so many ways. For instance, spiritually, I wasn't totally awake until something, came into my journey like that. I was kind of going through life and thinking, that everything was okay, and that I wasn't really in touch with my spiritual self and my higher self and different aspects of that. And so it really woke me up, and it started to bring me on this path that I'm here today. 17, 18 years later. And here I am. And the other part of this journey of healing from that accident was that I actually experienced a lot of post-traumatic stress. I felt like, oh my God, my heart's stopping at different moments that it was kind of unreasonable. My heart was fine. I was fine. All was okay, but I was having a lot of panic attacks. And back then it was the early, it was like 2000. So it was kind of basically there was a lot of prescription drugs being prescribed for these types of conditions that people experience, like anxiety and panic attacks and just, overall disease. And so when I started taking them, I only did it for like 6 months. I was given all different types of prescriptions because I kept saying, no, I don't think that works. And I don't think that one works. And basically what I decided was I don't like the way I feel on these medications. And I said, I'm going to find a way to do this naturally. So, I did stay on the meds for just a little bit, like I said, about 6 months. But over time, when I started looking into things just from the healing benefits, such as meditation and deep breathing, and I learned emotional freedom technique, I was kind of shocked that I could manage all of these things that seemed so difficult and so overwhelming to manage that I couldn't even drive at one point. I mean, I was like afraid to drive anywhere. And I had 2 babies and, lots to do. And it was really difficult for me to go out in the car and get in traffic, which was unusual for me because I actually used to do traveling sales for many years before getting into this predicament with the accident and the panic attacks and everything. So as of now, many years have gone by that I've been quite capable of driving again. I have no problems with it. I go many places, flying, trains, driving, and I haven't had a panic attack for quite a while. I'm panic attack free, and it's great. I do think that the main reason why I am able to say that is because I rewired my brain to react differently to these challenges that were coming into play. And post-traumatic stress is not anything that is easy to combat. I really worked at it, and it's interesting because I have actually met some people in my travels of educating on EFT that have used emotional freedom technique for post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms that have been happening for years. For instance, I met a gentleman one time when I was doing an Alzheimer's conference, and he had been struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder, and I met him probably about 9 years ago, and he had been struggling since the Vietnam War with these post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. So when he saw me coaching and teaching for EFT at this presentation I was doing for the Alzheimer's Association, he came right up to me and he was like, "I can't believe you're showing EFT." He expressed to me that the veterans program that he worked with had shared with him this complementary method, and he had been using it, and it had been quite successful. So, you know, um, there's a lot to be said for that, because I actually was inspired to look into more about who else is using this then, and how did he learn about it. So I did some research, and I found that there was some sort of grant program that was funded by the government to do EFT for veterans that have post-traumatic stress disorder. And it was really cool because that sequence of events happen, and know for myself too how powerful EFT was for me in helping me overcome my problems with panic attacks and anxiety. It was really a wonderful thing to see that over 10,000 veterans documented to be helped with EFT. And some of the veterans have said that they actually found it to be more powerful for them than psychotherapy and having medications and that sort of thing. As I said prior to all of this, I said, you always got to check with your doctor and make sure that before you get off any medication, they are truly, your care providers in all aspects. But these other complementary things that are gentle and natural, they really can't do you any harm just to try. So, I'm going to kind of go through an EFT sequence, and it's called the short sequence. And you can email me, or you can join my mailing list by visiting mindhealthcoach.com, and you go to the contact page and you enter in your email address. And what I'll do is I will send you a cheat sheet that actually is a total information page from A to Z, all the steps for this short sequence, so you can have it in hand and you can actually have the diagram where it shows the tapping points. And so what is EFT? What is emotional freedom technique? And I'm going to tell you what it is. So emotional freedom technique, I always equate it to when somebody is told by somebody much wiser, just, stop before you say something, take 5 seconds and breathe and count 1 through 5, or say ABCD before, the whole alphabet before you say something that you're going to regret. If you're feeling anger, whatever the emotion is, you are kind of going to just take a deep breath and take a break, and then things start to slow down and you start to gain more perspective. EFT is that magnified. Like I think of it as like so much more, because you're tapping on different acupuncture points which contain energy access points to your body, and the meridian pathways that run up and down. Meridian pathways are more of a spiritual concept, but it's believed that with the meridian pathways, it's energetic and it runs in that direction and parallel, and you're actually able to release up to your higher self and downwards to Mother Earth, and you're able to bring in energy too by utilizing these meridian pathways. So when you're tapping, in the more functional sense, in the more practical touch, feel sense of here and now, you can think of it as you're tapping on different access points, energy access points. You're bringing in blood flow, you're bringing in oxygen, you're stating positive affirmations, you're letting go of negativity, you're bringing in positive energy. And it kind of it impacts your brain so much because it sets you up every time you encounter a triggering circumstance, how you've already done the work. So It's said that once you do a sequence of EFT on a certain triggering circumstance, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that might be. For me, like I said before, it was getting in the car and driving, and really it was when I got into traffic that I was really struggling. But it's said that once you tap a full sequence on EFT, which a full sequence equals 3 times you go through the short sequence, you actually will never experience the same level of whatever emotion, whatever negative emotion it was that you had before you did the tapping. So that's, pretty powerful. And they also say that if you tap, like you're supposed to tap, like I said, 3 sequences, then the first sequence, if you're at a 10, like we're going to gauge it, like you nurses out there, I always ask my nurses, I say, you guys know what I'm talking about when I say on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you feeling for your emotion? 10 being the worst, 1 being the least. And, they'll laugh and chuckle and they understand. So that's what I'm going to ask everybody to do. And I also am going to ask, if you want to really invest in this, huge to have in your toolbox, that you actually journal about your EFT. Okay, your emotional freedom technique sessions. So when you are having a triggering circumstance, and that could be something that's causing you grief, like loss of a relationship, loss of a loved one. You could have also fear, anything that's emotion based. So fear, your fear about finances, your fear about a certain health condition that you have, fear about your job, and if you're at risk for anything happening with that. Fear for other people, you can tap about that. It's whatever emotion you're feeling throughout you. So it's almost a time to go inward and say, okay, I'm experiencing, and really evaluate it in a practical sense, so I'm experiencing fear about, and you can, let me interrupt for a second. You can do this in the midst of the emotion. Like if you're, say, at a panic attack, you can stop yourself and say, wait a minute, I'm going to evaluate this. I'm going to do EFT, and I'm going to get myself to come out of this after the fact. So the journal's great for after the fact, and also, documenting if you did it already in the midst of something. So, when I would have my instances where I needed EFT, I would say, okay, you know what, I'm having a panic attack. I feel it coming on. What is causing this? Why am I feeling that? And I would identify the triggering circumstance. Okay, well, I know I've got to drive to Providence and get over here and go there, and I'm really feeling stressed about that. So I am going to do some EFT on this. And so I would journal, I'd write down triggering circumstance, and having to do X, Y, and Z today, driving everywhere. It's causing me an emotion of anxiety. Okay. So then I would gauge it a scale of 1 to 10, and I would say, okay, right now I'm a 10. Then I would state an affirmation. And when you do your affirmation, you want to state it in a way that's positive. So you want to state the affirmation saying that even though you have this anxiety, and I add a little bit to the traditional statement, I actually add in love, because I believe love is very healing and it brings in a sense of empowerment. So when I make my statements to acknowledge whatever emotion it is, I will state that even though I have this anxiety, I deeply and completely myself. And, I say that with compassion because I know how much I'm feeling, and I got to take care of me. It's really self-care. So I'm saying it compassionately, and I'm saying it to myself that compassionately, because a lot of times we're not very compassionate with ourselves. We're too busy beating ourselves up and saying how we're doing things wrong, and, and it's just all negative. So when you're saying, it's almost like the energy is coming to you from yourself, and I feel like I'm drawing it in. If you want to get esoterical, I'm drawing that power to be able to be compassionate with myself from my higher self, which is connected to the all ever presence. And so I I really feel like when I do that, it already starts to calm me down. Like everything starts to be like, okay, I'm gonna do my technique and everything's gonna be great. But typically what the average person experiences is once you do one sequence, if you were at a 10, you would bring your whatever the emotion is down, mine being anxiety, it would go down after the first sequence between 5 and 7. And then once you do the sequence again, it brings it down between 1 and 3. So by the third sequence, you're really bringing everything down to between 1 and 3 or 0 and 3. And then, as I said, you will never, from whatever the triggering circumstance, you would probably never feel that level of a 10 again. You may have the triggering circumstance again, and you might be at a 3 or a 5 or a 7, but you may never be at 10 because your brain, you're actually implanting something, a seed in your brain that's gonna grow and say, "Wait a minute. Hey, wait, I already worked on that. I already know I have control of this, and all I have to do is tap, and I'm gonna feel okay." No matter what the circumstances, I'm going to know that I have something that will help calm me down. So, as I said, I'm going to do a sequence because this is so great. I can actually like have you guys see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to pretend like I have anxiety and it's a 10 right now. And I'm going to use, you can use two methods when you're, I'm going to move this a little bit because I want to show you guys. There's something called the sore spot on your chest. And if you go from your collarbone, and I wish I had a shirt on that was showing my collarbone better. If you go from your collarbone where it ends right here and you go down about 2 inches and then you go over about 3 inches, there's like a tender area on your chest and it's kind of a weird little spot and you have it on either side of your chest. And when you press on it and you rotate your fingers in a clockwise fashion, then it kind of wakes up all those energy centers I was talking about. And I've got a sweater on, so I had to like kind of move it down so I could show that spot. But I'm going to, you can utilize that spot, or you can do something that's called the karate chop. Okay. And the karate chop is great. It's you don't have to go in that sore spot, and that's kind of agitating. Some people find it very agitating. So I'm going to use this right now, and I'm going to make my statement of, even though I have this anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself. And breathing is very important during this too. And a deep breath is a count of 1 to 4 in slowly, if you can handle that much air, and holding it within for a couple beats, 1 to 2, 3 seconds, and then slowly exhaling. So we're going to do a very mindful breath, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's hard to breathe and count at the same time. Hold it and slowly exhale. 2, 3, 4. So you already start to sense, like, look at me, I'm like, woo, this feels good. So next, you're going to take your pointer finger and your middle finger, and you're going to intentionally tap 5 to 8 times on the meridian, on the, on the acupuncture points. And you can use two hands, or you can just use one. So I'm going to use two for some of the areas. And you start at the beginning of your eyebrow and you tap 5 to 8 times. And you want to kind of bring in whatever the emotion was that was upsetting you. And just kind of feel the circumstance so that you can acknowledge it better. So anxiety, and you state that emotion. You're acknowledging it. You're facing it. And then you go to the end of your eyebrows. Anxiety, this anxiety. You kind of think about it and you feel it and you try to pull it out into those meridian pathways I was talking about so you can have it exit out of your whole being and then, bring in the positive energy. Under the eyes, this anxiety, 5 to 8 times. I'm feeling this anxiety. I understand this anxiety. On your chin. this anxiety. And I like to start turning it around at this point because I felt it, I acknowledged it, I'm understanding it. Right here on the collarbone, again, you're going to tap 5 to 8 times. This anxiety is starting to go away. I'm getting control of this anxiety. This anxiety, it's not as difficult to deal with as I thought it was. It's under the arm. And on the top of your head, I want you to tap gently. I don't want you to tap too hard because I don't want anybody to have a headache. One time I was doing this and somebody was really like tapping at the top of their head and they're like, this is giving me a headache. I said, no, you have to go gently. So you can kind of move it around the crown chakra and state this anxiety is going away and it's being replaced with complete peace and knowing that everything is okay. You're going to take another one of those deep, wonderful breaths in. You're going to hold it, and then you're going to slowly exhale it out. So we're going to do count of 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it. And slowly exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I always inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. I think of it as part of the energy exchange. You know, if you're inhaling through the nose and you're exhaling through the mouth, I think of you're bringing in healing and light into your lungs through your nose, and you're sending out with love, words of love, feelings of love through your mouth, any energy that needs to be transmuted from negative to positive. So that's EFT. And, you know, as I said, it's so effective. There's so many different things that you can tap on with EFT. I particularly, as I said, utilized it a lot for anxiety and also grief. You know, I think I've shared with a lot of my listeners, I've had some moments of grief in the past year where, you know, I lost my mom and that sort of thing. And EFT, you know, it was something I was a little rusty on myself. I had been doing so much teaching on about it, but I had not been utilizing it as much for myself. And so I pulled it back out last year when, you know, I had that loss and found it to be extremely effective. And, you know, I often have shared it with people that are facing different conditions themselves, uh, you know, for medical conditions or, you know, anything that might bring them fear or anxiety, any emotion. And it's really, as I said, it's so effective and helpful and impactful. It's something that, you know, we talk about meditation and different techniques that can change your thought process, positive affirmations and all of that. I haven't really found something that's so consolidated and so concise and to make an impact so quickly. You know, I always love to learn about new methods to help ourselves. You know, and one thing I mentioned the aromatherapy. One thing I've also done with my EFT practice for myself is I've incorporated aromatherapy too to help plant the seed even deeper into my brain and create the neurotransmitter connection that I need to for any types of situations that bring emotions that are not welcome in my life. I mean, I shouldn't say not welcome. Every emotion is human, right? That's what we're experiencing. Anger and frustration and fear. It's all important to our existence, and it's a blessing, really, because there's so many different things connected to those emotions that help us, you know, maybe change our path a little bit. If we're feeling anger, we know that's a sign to like look at things and say, hey, wait a minute, I've got to correct this. I've got to fix something. You know, that doesn't feel right. I really shouldn't have that in my life. So they're like good indicators for conditions and circumstances that are evolving around you. And so it's important to tune into our emotions. And it's unbelievable how impactful our emotions truly are and how they can run away. You can get caught up in the emotion too, right? So it's important. I don't say that anybody, you know, just like think about their emotions into being so complacent that they aren't experiencing anything, because as I just stated, there are many reasons why we would want to feel those emotions. So I got a little something for you guys too. And I just want to mention again, visit my website, mindhealthcoach.com, and you will see on there some great things, I think anyway, and I want feedback too. There's the essential oil line that I have. I can do a consult with whatever needs you guys have for the essential oils. Like for instance, I just picked up this one. There's a lot of ticks in my area where I live, and the ticks cause deadly diseases, and I've been impacted by them. I've shared that on my show too. I have Lyme disease and also have had babesia, which is, they're two tick-borne illnesses. And so there's not really much you can do. And there's, the DEET type products out there, and there's different things you can wear. But this particular essential oil is all natural, and it, gets the ticks to stay away from you. And it's called TerraShield. And so they just came out with it in a spray bottle, and I'm really excited about that. But the reason why I was pulling out the essential oils is because, I'm excited about some different things. And I think it's awesome if you think about, what to give somebody for Christmas or a holiday present. How about giving them some joy? And, this particular oil is called Cheer, and it's a blend of oils. And I have on my website a link where you can look at all of the oils and actually get all of the components of oils that are in there. And as I said, you can always set up a wellness consult. But if just to back up a second, if you want anything like the instruction sheet for the EFT and more information about the essential oils, then email me or put in through my contact page that you would like this, and I will email it back to you. This is great. These are roll-on oils, so you just roll it right on, and it's like great because it's just a wonderful feeling when you have these essential oils. And there's so much information about what you can do and how many conditions that you can help with the oils. There's a particular oil that I used a lot called Forgive. It's a blend. I have the straight oils too. I have clove, I have lavender, I have peppermint, which is great for headaches. I had a headache today and I used that. But I actually, frankincense, I have to smell every time I see frankincense pop up. Oh, it brings my vibration up. It's just wonderful. It's really a great oil. Expensive though. That one is expensive. There's different price ranges on the oils. They can range anywhere from I think it's like $5 and up. But the reason why they are so expensive, some of them, like the frankincense, is because it's extremely high grade. And as I said, this particular line, it only deals with oils that are pesticide free completely, and the highest of qualities. And I just think that if you incorporate oils into your practice of EFT or meditation, you're taking it to another level. Like you're actually associating those oils that can have been scientifically proven to change your emotions. You bring it to another level when you incorporate the oils. Like when I say, Forgive, the oil Forgive, and I think it's here. I have Serenity and Citrus Bliss. So, all right, I'll use Citrus Bliss as an example. It's all, uplifting oils. Orange and bergamot, I think, is in here. Oh, this is just a fabulous one. I just love this. But this can lower your anxiety and rejuvenate you within seconds. There's something in essential oils called sesquiterpenes. They're molecules that are caring for people that are passing and transitioning. They use essential oil because it's not something that has to be ingested. It's just something, or even like inhaled. It's something that passes through your skin and your blood-brain barrier, and it communicates with your brain. different oils communicate with different parts of your brain, which is really fascinating to me too. I'm not, a nurse, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I follow everything I can about it. I think it's just so unbelievable, the research that's been coming out about, the way our brains work. And there's still so much more to be found. I was reading something about we have some sort of metal or magnet type material in our brain, and that it kind of can help us be more psychic and have more intuition, stronger intuition, better intuition, and it connects with the all. And I think that working with essential oils, it's really interesting because you are connecting through the oils with the all. You're connecting with nature. And a lot of times, a lot of us aren't able to get out there. We work jobs now that are, I find myself sitting way too much at the computer. I'm not happy about that. So I have to find a way to bring nature to me, because I have a lot of time where I am, in house, which I used to be outdoors a lot more. And, I find myself a lot in an office, and, I find myself not centered when I don't experience nature. And, one thing that I have to always experience in at least a few days, every few days, as I have to go to the ocean. I can't even move from where I'm at because I have to know it's, not too far away. I've thought about moving to other parts of the country, and I'm like, I can't do that. I have to have my ocean nearby. But, I think all of us as part of the universe has to have that connection of, feeling the sun, seeing the stars, and even the rain is, brings a lot of wonderful emotions. But connecting through nature, to nature through these oils is very impactful and healing. And I'm amazed at some of the experiences that I've had with some of my clients that have found essential oils to be extremely effective in different situations. And so, I actually brought on a couple things. It's going to be on my website soon. And if you sign up for um, my email list, I can send you out updates on all the wonderful things that I'm working with. But I found this line for ladies and gentlemen and children, which I think is so great for the kids to have access. Jewelry that has little beads or felt pieces in it that you can soak in the essential oil and carry with you for the day, and it's like it's right there, so nobody even knows that you're using the essential oil. And you smell lovely if you have something like lavender, or the citrus bliss is just, oh, it's so amazing. If you have something like that on you, it's really, you're using it as perfume too. But basically, the impact that I find wonderful is that you've got this essential oil that's on you, and you're experiencing it for the day. I'm not sure. I haven't, found that my beads or my felt pads have dried out. So I'm sure if it was not oiled, enough with the essential oil, that it wouldn't last for more than a couple days. But it's really great. And I think kids that experience anxiety and that sort of thing can really benefit from utilizing that. So I think the essential oils are really impactful and helpful in any conditions that you have that are emotional, and I think that's what a lot of us are dealing with when we have challenges in our life. That's the main thing that is in play, is our emotions. And we overlook how powerful they are, and how we can rein them in and make us, feel better with that self-care, that self-love. And I've been really working with that, and I've been working with, as I said, the essential oils, the techniques, meditation. I can't advocate enough for meditation. I think too, doing some coaching, that's something I do, is coaching, helping you work through the emotions, with professional counselors are wonderful too, but helping you work through certain scenarios that can drive you in the right direction if you get motivated. That's kind of my role, is the coaching for motivation of meeting goals and getting those things done that you want to meet, the milestones and goals of your objectives and your dreams and your focuses. That's where the coaching can really help. But all of these techniques can help you stay in that space for optimal you, like being the best you that you can be, and finding that purpose. Once you reach those milestones and goals, and you start to see there's purpose to what you're doing, and you can appreciate that, and that brings in gratitude, right? So there's all of these wonderful things that can bring such joy and peace, inner peace and happiness, that we're all kind of seeking. And it's simple things. It's things that are push button, and things that are right at your fingertips. It's not seeking that, of course, we all want the perfect house and the perfect car and the perfect family, but there's a lot of things that you can do to help get in a state of being that will bring you to higher levels of happiness and joy. So I really am happy that I've been here to talk to you guys on YouTube, and you can visit mindhealthcoach.com and listen to my show on Dream Vision 7 Radio. It broadcasts at 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. on Fridays. And also, one other thing, I have a cruise that's happening in May. And it's going to be going to Bermuda, and it's going to be a dementia-friendly cruise for those. So thank you all for listening in, and I hope you see me here on YouTube again. Thank you.